Hey, it's Mama D. My family requested that I make our traditional turkey rolls. So I started off with a hot skillet with, I use grapeseed oil. You can use olive oil if you'd like. I cut up 3 stalks of celery, relatively fine. I also use 1 whole onion, cut about the same. I used a half a pepper, chopped as well, and 2 cloves of garlic. I use mushrooms, about a half a cup, and get them into that hot oil and just let them soften and steam as long as it takes to get them nice and soft. Then I added about 2 tablespoons of sage. Black pepper, some garlic pepper, some chives, now in a very large pan, use your favorite stuffing. This first one is just a herb. And then the second one is a cornbread stuffing mix. Give that a real good mix to get the two blended together. And then you're going to add your own cornbread. You can use whatever cornbread that you like to make up. It doesn't matter if it's Jiffy or what, but just put in a pan of cornbread. Now make sure your hands are washed and get in there and get all that bread mixed up so that when you make your mix, you won't have any lumps and clumps of cornbread. You want to break it all down very nicely. Now this is when you come in and add your mix of your onions and garlic and pepper and celery and get that mixed into the dry ingredient very well. Now you're going to get a couple of eggs into a bowl and whip them very, very nicely. And now add your own broth, and it has to be cool down. You can't put it into the eggs while it's hot, but it has to be cooled down. It can be your own broth from your turkey or chicken, or make your own broth, or you can use it from a container. Once you mix that really well, go ahead and pour it into your dressing along with any additional broth that you may have and give it a good stir. You want to continue to add your broth until you have the right consistency of your dressing. And you can always add water if you run out of broth. Just add just some water in and it's okay. So now you can give it a little salt. I just added some Himalayan salt. And you can just give it a little taste and make sure that it's seasoned really good at this point, and continue to blend it until you get the right consistency. To make turkey rolls, you don't want it wet. It has to be pretty thick because it has to set up in the center of the roll and not run out when you run it. So that's about the consistency right there. Now you get your pan ready, or your pan up because you don't want the turkey rolls to stick. And you've gone to the deli and gotten your turkey lunch meat. And I have them to slice it relatively thin. You don't want those big old thick rolls, but not too thin, but just enough to roll very nicely. You want to put about a heaping spoon or like a mixing spoon, just enough to get a nice roll about an inch or two wide. And you do this until you've used up all your lunch meat. I ended up with about 30 slices. When you're at the deli, you can ask for however many slices that you want. I just did about, I think I did 3 pounds. So it gave me about 30 pieces altogether. So continue to do this. Just roll them up and get them nice and neat into the pan. Make sure you have them tucked neatly and close together so that they won't come apart while they're cooking. And here's the first pan. I think it was about 24 on that pan. Now, when you finish them all up, when you have some dressing left over, you want to add a little more liquid, either broth or a little more water to get it a little thinner, because if you have extra, you want to get it into a pan. You don't want it to be dry, so make it so it'll be a little more moist. Once you get it into the pan, you want to go ahead and bake it for about a half an hour or so. Now let's get ready for the mushroom gravy. You want to add a stick of butter to a hot skillet. In this case, I made a lot, so I put it in a larger pan. You want to melt that down. Get your onions cut in longer pieces. If you want to cut them in squares, that's fine, but I prefer the longer pieces for the gravy. Stir that until they begin to break down. And then you want to come back with a little salt, your pepper, add in your mushrooms, give them a good stir. You're going to add about 1/4 of a cup to a 1/2 a cup, depending how much you're making, but not more than a 1/2 a cup of flour, all-purpose flour. And then you want to mix that in. You can add a little more oil if necessary, but you want to cook that and just let it brown to the color that you prefer. I added some chicken bouillon powder. If you have cubes, you can use that, but I prefer the Goya chicken broth powder. That seasoning is really, really good. I use it in vegetables and meats or anything. Now you want to add your broth. If you run out of broth, you can always add water, because you want to come to about 4 to 6 cups. Now you want to go ahead and cover it and let it thicken. Once the gravy has thickened, go ahead and pour it over your turkey rolls. Place it in the oven for about a half an hour covered. And when they come out, they will be just absolutely delicious. Go ahead and enjoy them with some cranberry sauce and have a wonderful meal. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.